Welcome, everyone. You're listening to Sanctuary's Team Talk. My name is Myrna Haskell. I'm executive editor of Sanctuary Magazine. This is an online publication for women that empowers and inspires with a focus on the arts, humanitarian pursuits, health and wellness, inspirational travel, career, and finance. You can find us at sanctuary-magazine.com. This morning, I'm chatting with team member Sandra Bertrand. She is our travel journal columnist. She is also an award-winning playwright and artist. She is chief art critic for Highbrow Magazine in New York City, and she's also the newsletter editor for the National Association of Women Artists. Good morning, Sandra. How are you this morning?
Oh, good morning, Myrna. I've had 1.5 cups of coffee. I think I'm ready to go.
Me too. Look, I've got my Sanctuary mug.
Oh, fabulous.
I have to get you one of these mugs. I don't think I've given you one of these mugs yet, have I? I have to get you a mug.
No.
Yeah, it's a big thing, the mugs. We've got the mugs now, so. But anyway, I'm so glad that you're joining me this morning. Just so listeners know, this is our first episode of Team Talk, and the inspiration behind was the fact that, Sanctuary is not just a publication. It's a community. It's a community of women, readers, sponsors, partners, team members, and we have a large interactive section, and we decided, you know what, we're going to share some of ourselves and our stories with you so that you can get to know us better as the women behind the magazine. So I want to start with just saying how I met Sandra. It was in January of 2019, right? And it was at actually the 130th celebration reenactment of the National Association of Women Artists, which launched actually in 1889. I hope I have that year right.
That's right.
And Sandra wrote the skit, I want to really say short play though, and was one of the 5 women who were founders. And I attended that. It was such a fun night. And NAWA too is very special. I just want to give them a shout out because it is the first women's fine arts organization in the United States. So it's a special organization to be part of. And I was so happy to meet you. And I think we had lunch later or once or twice. And I was dying to get your writing into Sanctuary. So I finally asked you, would you like to work with us? And you have been since. I think it was the summer of that year that your first installment went out.
Yes.
So readers can find Sandra's work under Inspired Life from our nav bar. That's under Travel Journal. And each month she has a new installment out. It is also linked with a graphic from our homepage. So I just wanted to let listeners know that. So I have a first question for you.
I'm ready.
That is, and you have such a diverse career. You've been in so many different parts of the arts, as a writer, as a playwright, as an actress, So I'm wondering if you can share 1 or 2 accomplishments that you're particularly proud of with us.
Well, when you had originally suggested that as a question, I thought, oh, this is going to be a hard one to really narrow down because my working life has been very eclectic. My curiosity about the arts has been, well, you know what curiosity is. It's like the 9 lives of cats. It can get you, it can get you in a lot of, excuse me, strange places. But I was thinking in terms of moments that brought me great pride. Most recently, I would say it would be being accepted as an active member of NAWA, which you have just introduced to the public. NAWA is a wonderful organization, and recently, since my retirement, I think that it opened up the possibility of me being able to get more serious about my painting. And that's a wonderful thing to be able to do, to find the time to do that along with my writing. And I guess because I can't stay away from the written word, that it was only natural that I would then suggest to NAWA why don't we talk about ourselves? Why don't we let the world know what we're doing? And not necessarily as a form of PR with little blurbs, but to really talk and explore and understand what motivates a woman artist. And in that respect, I think we're going into our third year with the magazine. And it's a wonderful outlet for all of us. I'm very happy with it. So there's that. The second thing on my list would be that after working in the arts and working in business for quite a number of years, I just felt that it was time to catch up with something that I had to finish. And I had gone to junior college in California in Bakersfield many, many years ago. And I'll tell you a little more about leaving town when we get to a couple of the other questions.
Okay, I can't wait.
And so I went back to the new school. And when I was 50 years old, not too long ago, I decided to go back and finish my BA. And I had, of course, taken professional courses over the years with Stella Adler as an actress, and I had taught acting and been involved as an acting coach in New York, in between other more serious jobs, you might say, that brought in my rent and everything else. But so that would be number two. And then quickly, number three, in terms of really thinking about what I can honestly say I was proud of. When I was 19 years old, after my first year of junior college, I had $65 in my pocket. And I had a couple friends to look up in San Francisco. And I arrived in San Francisco. I had no job, $65.
You brave woman.
Moved at that time in the early 60s. I think it took a little bit of gumption, whatever word you want to use. I didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to get work. Yes, I got work as a file clerk. But after 2 weeks in the city, this was amazing. I had left home because I was determined I wanted to be an actress. I didn't just want to be a typist. I wanted to do something with my life. And I figured I could always find a job. There would just be a job out there. And there was. I could walk into an office and I was a good typist. And so I could get a day job. The first audition I went to was for the lead in Sweet Bird of Youth. And I crossed the Golden Gate Bridge, and in Sausalito, which is a charming little town outside of San Francisco.
I've been there. It is. It certainly is.
Lovely. They had a very active theater group at that time, a wonderful group, actually. And I don't know what I did, but I was determined that so I wouldn't have to turn around and go back to Bakersfield, I better get the part. And I think I gave a bang up audition and I got the part. And at 19, my director said to me, now don't you dare tell anybody that you're a day under 35. So for 15 years, I was getting parts that I was 35. And I thought, I guess I'll never get to play Peter Pan. You know, it'll just never happen.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Wow. That's quite the story. I think it shows though your ingenuity and your steadfastness and just what I know about you and your creativity too. You know, I'll find a job. I'll do whatever I need to do. You know, that's fabulous.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, so I have a couple of fun questions though that I want to ask you.
Okay.
So yeah. So the first one is, what fictional character most aligns with your personality?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now this may not sound, I'm sure, to some of your readers and viewers that original, because I'm sure people in my age range, there's a number of women out there that can relate to this. But right before I left home for that San Francisco junket, I had gone to the movie theater and I'd seen Breakfast at Tiffany's. And of course, I thought, is there anything more wonderful than that? And so I went out and I bought myself a very large pair of black glasses, and I had a long black cigarette holder. And at that point, many of us were wearing our hair in a twist. And I got together with my friends, and we even had a Breakfast at Tiffany's party.
Oh, I love it.
Everybody,
I love it.
Yeah, everybody that came to the party had to play one of the characters. And a friend of mine, actually, who ended up in San Francisco, I remember, was a Polish girl from Alaska, and she was about 6 feet tall. And she played Meg Wildwood, the friend of Holly's that faints on the floor during the party.
Yes.
And it was great fun. It was really great fun. And the other character that I think is perhaps a little more realistic would be Mary from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, because throughout my life,
love that show.
I loved it too.
Oh, you are her. I see that. You're a little bit of both, you know, but I totally.
Well, the thing is, I could really relate to that because I had so many irascible bosses that I had to keep in line, you know. And
oh, that's just great. Oh, now every time I talk to you, I'm going to be thinking about that. It's great, Sandra. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I have another one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's the worst job you've ever had? Your worst job you've ever had?
Well, thank God it didn't last too long. I was 15 years old, and I was a little young to be getting a job, but I felt I needed something beyond my allowance, which was pretty minimal. And so I took a job at Jolly Cone, which was
Jolly Cone.
It was a soft ice cream place, and this is going to be a whole new twist on money laundering. I dropped a milkshake in the cash register, and a chocolate milkshake in the cash register, and I had to wash all the money off, and it was not a good job. It was not a good job for me, and I wasn't a natural waitress. And another thing, I was a little bit too generous with the kids that would come to the front window, because I would always give them scoops of ice cream that were a little larger than what they could actually pay for.
Oh, okay.
So
that's nice of you, though. But that was the job. Okay. I've got a better one, though. Can you share the most embarrassing thing you've ever done, or your most embarrassing moment that you can remember?
Yes. And this was connected to my earlier acting career. I was in a community theater production where I was playing Blanche in Streetcar, and for some reason I became associated with Tennessee Williams, which was fine with me because I always loved his plays. And the night of our last dress rehearsal, what had happened that afternoon was the crew had come out and built a scrim across the entire proscenium of the stage. Now that was a scrim so that when the lights were on and Blanche was in her last scene where she was being taken away because, you know, she had some problems. And it was something that Williams had described in the script, that she would be led away, and behind this scrim there would be a hazy light that was a very interesting effect. Well, I didn't know that that scrim had been put up. And when I did that play, I wasn't wearing contact lenses. I didn't get my contact lenses until later.
Okay.
So at the end of the play, the director said, everybody come down to the apron of the stage and we'll get notes. So I was up on an upper level behind the scrim. I didn't know the scrim was there. I couldn't see it. And I walked right through it. So.
Oh, Sandra, I just love that. I love that play too. You know, I want to give another shout out to Community Theater because I saw that one in Rhinebeck at Community Theater in Rhinebeck. And, you know, I just can't wait. You know, we're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic, with, you know, people being vaccinated and things opening up again. And, you know, I've really, you know, felt empathy for the performing arts community through all of this. And won't it be so wonderful when we can go and see plays again, right? I mean, that's going to be fabulous. But, and I could hear the little like sounds of the city behind you. And it's also reminding me that we in New York, because we have people from all over the country and actually outside the country too, that follow us. So we finally have a little bit of a peak of spring going on this week, right?
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. I've seen Forsythia in Central Park.
Oh,
and the cherry blossoms should be out in a few more weeks.
Well, you know, that's the wonderful thing though about living up in the Northeast, because once you've experienced a winter, especially like the one we've had, we had a lot of snow this year. I know you in the city also had a lot of snow. We usually have a lot more than you do, but I think we were like neck and neck this year. But then you don't get that, you know, when you're in a warm climate 24/7, you don't get that real spring fever like we get up here. So but anyway, so I want to ask you something else so that's a little bit more connected with travel, and that's, do you have something on your bucket list, a place, and you're so much more well-traveled than I am. You've been all over the world, but I'm wondering if there's something on your bucket list, a place that once travel starts really opening up that you'd like to visit.
Well, there was a trip that was quite comprehensive, actually, that my partner and I put together right before COVID hit. And so it would have been something very, very exciting for us. We of course, a few years back, which I described in your magazine, we had been in St. Petersburg, and we'd been in Prague and Krakow, and you know, some pretty wonderful places. But there were still quite a number of countries we had not visited. And we started doing our research right before the holidays, so a couple of months before COVID. And we wanted to consider Romania, Bulgaria. In Romania, we wanted to go up into the Carpathian Mountains. We wanted to see Vlad's castle. Vlad's castle is that extraordinary castle that's reputed to be Dracula's castle.
Oh, you know, I was thinking that. You must have me. I was totally thinking that when you're saying.
Yeah, and
I love the macabre.
That's great. You know, you know, we have overactive imaginations, I'm sure, but and it's still up for grabs whether this Dracula figure actually lived there. But certainly there are legends and myths that attach themselves to that. And the other thing about that part of the world, and we planned on ending up in Croatia around Dubrovnik and that beautiful coastline. That would be a nice way to end up what was basically going to be a train trip
Oh, that
through
sounds
all those
fabulous.
countries. And I've never been to Budapest. And so I just felt like the train would be the way to do it. You know?
Oh, yes. Oh, that sounds like such a romantic trip too.
So it's not
And
going to happen.
historical and
I think it would be wonderful and a wonderful thing to write about, but it's not going to happen this year.
no, yeah. But you know, it's on the list, and hopefully you'll write about it once you do go in Sanctuary.
Yeah. But
so speaking, you know, oh, did you want to say something else about that, Sandra?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say that we'll get to our teaser.
Yes, I was just going to say
where I'm taking you next.
Yeah, what are we going to see in Sanctuary next?
Well, and I think it's probably the May issue, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yes, May.
Yeah.
I think that's where we have it scheduled. Yes.
Some time back, we made an extended trip through Peru. And when you mention Peru, most people, for good reason, think of Machu Picchu and this 4,000 year, it's like a Shangri-La experience. It's really hard to find words to describe it. It's like trying to describe the Grand Canyon until you reach that entrance to Machu Picchu and you see that here over 4,000 years, it remained silent, undiscovered. And then in the early 20th century, an Englishman by the name of Hiram Bingham had heard rumors and he traveled there. And then over a period of time, of course, a lot of the ruins were then uncovered. Now, that's most of what visitors think about when they think about Peru. But just to give you a little bit of a teaser about the article, before we decided to go up into the mountains and explore Machu Picchu and another little mountain village, which is quite extraordinary, and Cusco, which is the capital of Peru. We wanted to take in some other really fascinating sites of Peru, which include the Nazca lines. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but back about 1500 BC, the Indians had inscribed in the earth these absolute giant figures of animals and plants, and even what looked like a spaceman. And these lines were drawn. They're still trying to figure out why, but they weren't discovered. And because the rainfall is so small in that part of Peru, the lines that were drawn by taking darker stones underneath the sand, and so it was like an etching that covered miles and miles and miles. These drawings were not discovered until the 1920s.
Oh my gosh.
Small aircraft were going overhead in that part of Peru, and they were, just these tiny little single engine planes, and they discovered these lines. Now, we didn't go up in a plane to view the whole array of lines, but we were able to go up into these lookout towers that gave us an interesting view of several of the lines. And
I can't wait to see the photos too.
I'm sorry?
Besides your writing, the photographs you share in your column are always so special. And
Well,
I've had readers, several readers, write and say, oh my gosh, now that I read the last travel journal column, I know where I'm going next. I mean, all your little tidbits about what
I
to
love to hear
eat
that.
and little places you stayed overnight
And food.
yeah, and you know, the sights and sounds of the, you know, the streets and the local people and culture. It's such a special column, and we're so honored to have you as part of our team. I have to say that. I mean that from
Well, I
all
have
of
to
us.
say I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of Sanctuary because I think it's a wonderful magazine, but I also feel that since your objective, of course, is to be so supportive and creative in reaching women across the country, that travel is a transformative experience. And I think if more and more people will just think about it as something that they can lose themselves in, they can allow themselves to be surprised. They don't have to control everything that happens on a trip because
Right.
it's not the destination,
You know what?
it's the journey.
I have to raise my hand a little bit with my hyper organizational self, that I actually have to schedule in non-scheduled time on trips so I can just like see what happens. It's hard for me. But you're absolutely right, Sandra. I mean, you have to just go with the flow. Sometimes those are your best experiences, right? When you just let things happen and you let the
Truly,
place sort of,
truly.
the place guide you, right, to where you need to go.
There will be stories. There will be stories. So I encourage everybody to look for that part of the issue.
Yes, definitely. So as Sandra said, that's scheduled for the May issue, and you'll see that actually from our homepage. But if you happen to miss it in May for some reason, it will be under in the Inspired Life section, which is available right from our nav bar too. All of her archives, actually, if you're not yet familiar with her column, are there, and she's taken us to many special places. So thank you so much, and thanks for chatting with me this morning. I'm so happy about this. This was our first ever episode of Team Talk. So I want to thank the listeners for joining us. We'll be having more of them as the year goes on. And I just want to tell Sandra, I can't wait to see you in person sometime soon, hopefully maybe in the summer or early fall. But
it will happen.
Yes, it will happen. And we're looking forward to that, right? We're looking forward to good health for everybody. So I'd like to close by saying, as I always do, wishing our listeners and our readers good health, happiness, and continued inspiration. Thanks for joining us.